Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had a good lunch. The weather is hot outside, but it's rather comfortable and cold in here. So I hope you won't get sleepy in the afternoon. This is our final afternoon already. But before we proceed to the last session today, can I please ask you all who are sitting in the back to move further up a little bit? It feels a little bit lonely to have like the first few rows kind of quite empty here. Then I think you all can engage more in the discussion that is about to happen in the afternoon. Thank you so much, Mr. Andrew Port. I like when you say what the world needs from culture now in terms of climate action. I think that's the quick questions. And I think the news is very exciting and it's very comforting as well as very promising for us who share the same vision. So see you all in Dubai, I guess. All right, so we'll proceed to the last session today, which will be led by Dr. Widodo, our favorite gentleman. Okay. So it's a youth call for sound climate action. Can I please have Dr. Widodo and also the representative from our youth up on the stage, please?
Okay, so this is not sessions. This is more like reflections. Now, you will be in Dubai. We will be in Dubai. So, rather than to make a conclusion, it's not a conclusion because it's just a continuity or something that is still going on. The target is the world now. So, I just want you one by one, representing your friends there, the youth. What is your take about this 3 days conference, and what is your action plan? So you may speak freely, and you can call any one of your friends to come together, and you conclude this conference. So it's not me to make conclusions, but you are to make actions, future plan.
I would start with the word climate change make us emotion. Climate change made emotions on the riverbanks is effective for the small fish. Local fishermen, sensitive group to get this effect. Increasing of water temperature make me cannot see some species that I have been seeing when I was child. Indigenous people who living in the forest, who have their own cultural wisdom to protect the forest, now they get to chase out because of the land certificate. Also, one thing that is make climate change is the issue is the waste. We don't have proper recycle waste system since the beginning. I can say that from the conference, I see many discussion, but overall, I feel that at the moment we are solve the problem in the wrong way. We are not holistic to solve the problem yet. People, resources, or any budget separate everywhere. For myself, I have backgrounds on the trainer, on the people and culture. Today, I want to representative the youth, allow youth to calling for education and educate of the climate change. We have a lot of subjects, we had a lot of major that we study, but really less major that discussing directly to the climate change. So the problem is still going on. Imagine this, if you have a child, and then when they come back and say, hey, today I know how to separate the waste. Or maybe your high school child tell you that I joining the campaign of the forest, how happiness you are. So I want to calling to have more education on climate change. My previous background is HR manager. I hiring the people and terminate the people as well. In the future, if my staff, or maybe your staff, don't have the knowledge about the climate change, they will get terminated as well. Today, I would like to connect the education, the academics, and the career path of the climate change. Last word that I want to say, in the future, won't have a job that destroy the world. Thank you.
Yes. Couldn't think that was how I was supposed to follow up with that, but that was amazing. Thank you. Okay, so for me, my name is Widya, I'm from Indonesia, and for me, these 3 days of conference gave us all, and personally me, a lot of things to reflect. For once, it reminds me that at one point, I was afraid of the future. I was afraid because since things are already like this for my generation, some of us are anxious as to whether we will be able to afford homes, buying homes from ground up. And some of us are, especially us who live in big cities, we breathe polluted air, and some of us getting old on the road due to traffic jams. And even some of us are dying early from unbalanced diet, lack of sleep, and hustle culture. And I myself have lost a few colleagues that way, and too many to my comfort. And if it's already like this in my generation, then how about the next generation? Will the next generation have to breathe even more polluted air? Will the next generation even have the luxury to have roofs over their heads or live in a humane environment? Or will they have to live in cramped spaces which gets flooded once or twice a year? And then this is the things that sometimes I used to think, sometimes I'm still thinking, when lie down and unable to sleep. Yeah, but just wondering and worrying about the future. But this conference, and not just this conference actually, but the months leading down to it, all the way from August when we youth representatives first come together for a workshop preparing for this conference. Now this whole process actually finally gives me a name to this fear. It is the mindset. It is the irrational race of everyone chasing the same thing, like fighting to get to the top, to whatever it is at the top of the pyramid. And whatever it is that made people choose to buy or build things that just because they can, not because they need. And this is a world of abundance. We can get things easier than ever. We can get food faster and probably most of the time cheaper. And clothes, we have more clothes than we might need in a lifetime. And we can travel faster than ever now. But despite all this reality of convenience of the developed world, the fear I had for the future is that one day these things will inevitably run out. And this conference, while it gives me the name to this fear that I'm feeling, actually also gives me hope. Because all these 3 days, we get to see real-life examples of communities with wonderful initiatives to make efforts towards sustainability, supporting marginalized people, and we get to also see real-life businesses that is striving towards sustainable production, like the seaweeds of Group 2, right? And then we also get to see examples of indigenous people and communities that with spirituality and connection to the nature that we can absolutely learn from a lot if only we take the time to sit down and hear their voices. And it gives me hope that not everyone is in this irrational race to see who consumes things faster. And, but there are, this conference proves that there are real attempts and efforts and energy to try and salvage our future. Right. Let me take a break first. Not yet, not yet. Right. Okay, but this is also the truth that living with the mindset towards sustainability, that to consume things with moderation and consideration, it is indeed harder, and it comes with more costs, sometimes in finances and also sometimes in efforts. And we have seen multiple times, multiple cases these past 3 days that we need more brain cells, more discussions and more efforts to communicate, to design something sustainable for both humans and for nature. And we also need to pay more money for local clothes, right? So for local clothes made by hands of local people, rather than maybe those on sale in the department stores. And also I remember one of the comments from yesterday said that houses that made with natural materials may cost more because the materials are rarer. Yes, so yeah, some may say that why torturing ourselves getting the slower and at times more expensive product when they are the faster or sometimes cheaper product. Well, it makes sense. Maybe it is easier to live with the flow, to grab the stock while it lasts, and to pray that the comeback will not come in our generation. But if we think about what it is going to do to our next generation, then maybe the things, maybe if we struggle now, if we have this mindset towards sustainability now, then maybe it is a good price to pay for the future. The extra effort might be worth it. And well, my point is, sustainable way of living, it is the harder road. And as it stands, if we go around it individually or even through small communities, it is doable, but it is going to be an uphill battle. We, as individuals, we can promote things. We can promote ideas and stories through social media, and we can also wear things from our local productions and tell the stories to the world, but that can only do so much. We can still have perhaps communities striving towards sustainability in this way, starting from ourselves, but there will be limitations. It is undeniable that the needs for support is a lot more than that. And some groups may need adequate health care for them, especially if they're affected by climate change. Some groups may need opportunity for education, or perhaps even network or platform for voices to be heard. There are a lot of things that needed to be done, and also across different boards. So from what I think is, it all boils down to a willingness from policy and decision makers to work together with these communities. And not just as a token or just to check out the inclusivity box or just maybe to make headlines to proper prestigious, but to actually work together with people whose mindset is not to chase the top of the pyramid, but to that of balance and connection with nature. And with people that actually practices it, that actually walk the talk, and has the capacity to teach us to be the forefront of this. That is from me. Thank you very much.
Check. Well, putting a little bit things onto what my colleague Lydia has already well explained that. So I confidently say I'm not an expert nor a very professional in my backgrounds, but I confidently say that I'm a concerned citizen, quoted from Leonardo DiCaprio. Well, so basically what we have been taking away from this 3 days conference since the kick-off, the first day up to this hour, there have been kind of like bunch of words that we have been hearing, listening to from one person to another, sharing in every occasion during this conference as well. So what actually I have been thinking of representing my colleagues and personally me, we just need to listen. So we have so many words that coming out from our mind, but why don't we spare time to listen? So talking about listen, who we should listen to? So climate change is undeniably exist. Climate change exists, right? So climate change has negatively impacted our community, people who are living in the very high buildings or have been negatively impacted, right? But what have been surprisingly happening is my family in Banyak Island, or some of my colleagues in a very, very village or remote area, surprisingly negatively impacted by people, but we can say well-educated but mentally stupid people who have been using their roles to misleading way, right? So we can say people who are innocent community also have been impacted to this. So what I mean is by listening here is on this stage, why don't we just listen to our back to our community? Who are the indigenous community? Indigenous community, or our local community. Back to them, sit on the table, have a very, it doesn't have to be very academic words that you don't have to say to them, we are in danger, this is climate crisis. My friends already, that company already contribute for the carbon emissions a lot. They literally don't understand this. So what we need is to talk to our community, look for your community, seek for the community that will be connected to your passions. So no matter who you are, no matter who we are, but we have the same concern. We want to be an agent of change of this climate tackling. So we already get our platforms, and we already have community to listen to. So why don't we just start now? So from now on, we get out of our conference, we pack our bag back to the place that we are from, and then look for them, because they actually matters, and we can just connect them to the people, policymakers, decision makers. So this is actually how our connections works, just pretty much basically like that. So that's all from me. Thank you.
I'm the last one. How can I top that base comment over there? Oh. Yeah, right. So after the past few days, what I felt is a little bit shocked and curious, because from the first day, I feel impressed by the presentation of our panels, especially Ajahn Rasami, who present how inclusivity, how involved, how diversity we are, yet we are one in here in this land. But something might have gone wrong all of this time that we didn't do well for these past decades, that we are now such we are a stranger to each other. We are all of our culture and everything tend to be disappear day by day, and someone still don't know about that, and that was shocked, isn't it? So for me, after listening to the inspiring panels, I also see that all of these are the evidence to show that our wisdom, our know-how, our beliefs and traditions explain the nature of where we live, the place we live in every day. There are always reasons behind still house in Chao Phraya River. Why do we need still house? There is the reason behind all the bricks in Penang. Why do we need to have those kind of bricks? Why do you need limestone? It's also explanation for the proverb of currents, why we need to conserve the river, the mountains. It's just like that in the big scale, in the small scale. But now the lack of communication and various organs just tend to disconnect us, because after I do the research in our panel, we're doing the linguistic topic, a lot of messages wasn't delivered well, and the lack of understanding also create this division of nature culture, and people in the worst case. And we all need to get back to that, to see like how can we understand each other back again and make the communication functional, know our diversity, and create a better connection among ourselves. Not just generation gap, not just local and authority, even among authorities, sometimes they don't talk well. And for example, in the heritage site, there is no single heritage site with a value of culture or a nature. They both are there. And culture can enrich the nature. We can use that as a tool to protect nature, while nature is where we live every day. So it's our home, basically. So it's that bond. I don't know, maybe the constructed governing might divide that a little bit in this decade, but still, the communication is the key to bond that all together back again. So after talking with our colleagues and after all of this research and all the evidence that our Kai panelists put up here in the very room, I think that we still have hope, like what Widya just said, to bond up once again in this and stop neglecting the diversity of our region and really continue to do our best and connect to more people, communicate more, understand more, and in some case, listen a little bit more to all of the messages that is out there, all the information, research, scientific proof that our cultural wisdom is in need to be heard and is in need to bridge the gaps that is existed in our society now today. So it is all about the voices that needs to be heard. And it's not just all our voices, four of us here on stage. We would like to hear also our friend who sit over there, because many times the youth voices is a little bit quieter than adult or something. So please, our friend over there, SEACHA youth representative, can you please sending us some voice? Let us hear what you guys think over these 4 days, and maybe echoing what we have missed. Anyone with a hand? Kamari.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I think from the past 3 days, I've learned a lot, and there's been discussion about sustainable living. I would like to point out that we, of course, support local textiles and local production, but it does not have to be at a high price point. It does not have to be gatekeep among people who can afford it. For people who do not have the means to, say, endorse sustainable production of textiles, perhaps just wear like the same t-shirt you're wearing like week to week, or just stop buying shirts or thrift. There's so many ways to lead a sustainable lifestyle that does not have to be gatekeeped among certain groups of people, for one. And my second point is that I try a lot to go to a diverse array of conferences, just to not be pigeonholed or not engage in an echo chamber type of mindset. When I talk about culture, I also want to talk about climate action. When I talk about indigenous languages, I also want to talk about traditional wisdom. So always engage in, an open mind and try to engage with a lot of different people, because as we've mentioned before, I believe that the word activist or advocate is sometimes branded as something that is not ideal in certain types of communities or society, but perhaps we're also just people who are very curious to learn more, and people who just want to represent our communities in different aspects of life and living. Yeah.
Anyone else want to speak up some voices that I might miss? Oh, Jun.
Oh, hi. First of all, I want to thank the Siam Society and SEACHA for organizing this conference. I think that being a youth, we do have a bit of a different perspective towards sustainability and what we demand and what we want. I would really like to take this opportunity because there are also quite many people who are young at heart, right, and quite well established in the community. I think what we can offer as young people is to also provide an alternative viewpoint towards certain established industries and how we could bridge together the projects they are working on, and with also public listed companies or established industries in maybe developing their CSR projects and having a better sustainability footprint in the market. So I'm really hoping that through this conference we're not also just trying to raise awareness, but also be able to network and also have working opportunities with the established industries and bringing our viewpoints and actions into the market for a more sustainable, I use the word too much, for more long-term growth and prosperity. Yeah. Happy Chinese New Year.
Thank you, June. Can someone pass him a big glass of water? Oh yeah, we have Alfred over there.
Hello. Actually, when I listened to the voice of my friends, I really realized about 9 months ago. At the time, I was like an ordinary youth applying these programs under the hot summer nights of Yangon. Now, I came together, listen many experience and many new learnings from all over the people who are honorable persons. Now, I would like to say that this is not ending. This is just the beginning, because our region, the South Asia, is very vulnerable to the natural disaster as well as many other political or social or something like the problems. So without so bad, so we have that kind of big problems. But hopefully, and I strongly believe that we can pass this climate change problems with the help of our other generations and our ancestral beliefs, as well as combining our younger generation's advice and use. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you
so
very
that's
much.
that.
Thank you very much, Alfred. And because of Alfred, I also want to echoing one little noise that wasn't here. Cha, our friend who cannot travel to Thailand, she also from Myanmar, and also want to underline that it is important to listen, to understand, and to have compassion on what she do. She never stop. I never see this girl stop. So yeah, thank you. Anyone else want to add up to what Alfred just said before we wrap up and then give it back to Widodo, to Dr. Widodo?
All right, I'll try to end this. Thank you very much. I think it's just an opportunity to thank all of you guys for convening today. I think cultural wisdom for climate action, in its surface, relatively new concept, and fortunately it is being recognized. And one thing, in the sense that it creates a platform for us to talk about other social issues. And like I think one of the topic was climate action. The issue is everybody kind of agree that there's something needs to go forward, and sometimes through climate action you are able to do or push certain indigenous right issue, land right issue that goes along with it, which sometimes get eclipsed by mountains of issue. And this is also a great opportunity for youths to look inward with a lot of contemporary cultures and belief, and globalization comes. We are in a dilemma to integrate ourselves to be a 21st century individual, but also looking inward into our ancestor and our ancestor belief and how we could incorporate that. And move forward with this wisdom. And yeah, just eternally grateful that there's a platform for that. Maybe this is the first, not the last, hopefully, and many more in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joshua. I think that pretty much everyone. So just to wrap up what we all, before giving back to you, we just want to say that this is how we think, this is how we perceive, this is how we feel thankful for all of this that happening over here. And we will be echoing more voices. We will never stop doing that, and you can check on us. But it's also the manifesto for everyone who is watching right now, who is the youth, that our voice needs to be heard more and more, and our voice needs to be really executed into something solid. And just step out with the information you have in your hand, with cooperation you have at your house, with every knowledge and know-how that your ancestors might pass to you. We need that more than ever today to pass on and to echoing our Southeast Asian voices, our cultural wisdom to the world. Thank you. And Dr. Widodo is all back to you.
All right, now it's time before cold beer and nice garden party. Is there anyone who want to say something? It's not asking questions, but maybe just give some comments and support for way forward. Yes, there's one. And two. One more. These two. Yeah.
Thank you. Hello. All right, thank you so much, and it's so inspiring to see a lot of you together and voice your voice, and I hope you resonate. I hope your voice can be heard from next generation of youth. Together we can make a better place for our future children. I think it's very important for us all to to continue do what you do, and also recognize our culture actually has a vital answer, as a real answer in tackling the problem of climate change. And I feel like after here Mr. Andrew say about the importance of culture wisdom in fighting climate change, I feel like I'm not alone, because I've been trying to do that many times in my country, especially in Malaysia, because in Malaysia they don't take art into account, they don't take culture into account. Even we don't have a Ministry of Culture of Art at all. The Ministry of Art and Culture fall under the tourism, because of course they said art is only good for tourism, never gonna do anything change. So I find that I feel like, oh, this is the way I can push to government to put some what's called consideration to the how art also can be vital answer, can be vital point to better to any causes that we have around the world. But at the moment, I think to get to break through all the barrier that we have, especially in the knowledge of climate change, is people doesn't understand that, because so many of climate change stuff involves so many jargon that hard for anybody to understand. I think that's the role of art again, as a role to break all this through. Try to use your imagination, try to use the creativity, and try to penetrate all people's heart and try to understand by heart. I think that's yeah. I think use also you try think about that in your next presentation or in next activity you can do with your community, because I think that's what we have. I think what I realized, I think we have realized so many of our conference, of our workshops. Many community live in a rural area, live in a even the urban area. They don't have a connection to my presentation or other presentation, and because they don't believe it in their heart, and we need to tackle that. And I think something I learned a lot in this conference as well, and I really want to take back and try to do and spread the news. Thank you.
Yeah, Momo. Yeah, is the next comment. Mama Momo.
Mama Momo.
Thank you. I just want to make 2 points. One is it's a platform for to deliver your message that I just want to share that, one good point about globalization is people using social media. So that's urban people in the cities or people in the country. For example, I don't know here also maybe because of one of the Facebook page is about the wildlife of Myanmar. So that group of young experts who actually is advocating that to identify any animals, any insects, or especially like snakes, are the part of the environment. And so with that, their information sharing and people just taking photo and post it on the group and ask what is that. And I think I noticed only for the few months, but people are now very much aware. Anyone, whoever posted, anyone can identify this is not a poisonous. So I think more and more people are aware that snakes are not to kill first. There's many snakes, and then they even laugh, like I mean, showing their love to the animal. It's not any more dangerous species, but of course some can be noticed as a poisonous one, not to touch or things. So that kind of information platform is very important, and then you youths are the people who knows a lot, so that is one thing. Another one is from the different angle. We should not only share it among us the same people with the same concept, but why don't we also hear, like we can also hold a debate. Those who maybe from the business world, the real estate, to include in the conversation, or making our voices heard. Also, we also want to see from their angle, their argument. So I think the kind of debate or the discussion is also very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, in front. Oh, yeah. Okay, this 1 and 2 and 3.
Thank you. I think this afternoon when I will go out, I will feel younger. Thank you for making me to feel this, and then I have really believe that what we already achieved in this so far is not useless. And I also believe that this, as quoted by Indonesian first President Sukarno, he mentioned, "Bring me 10 young people and I will change the world." And then we have 4, and then also abundantly in the backside. I think now we can change the world starting from our humble activities and then becoming broader as a snowballing program. And I think this is really important for us, for Siam Society and also SEACHA, that we will be here for you all the youngsters. We will keep following you, and whenever you need us for a consultation, for also debating or criticize what is our program in the future, you are most welcome. And then after this conference, we have also a discussion with the Siam Society and the internal board of SEACHA that we will send a letter to each of the ministry or any whom in your own country that is having the authority to acknowledge you, that you are all the things that we choose in this world to help to spread over what are that we have to promote the cultural wisdom for the climate action. So that's we will do together. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for having everyone together, collected together. I'm a bit of an in-betweener because I just turned 40, so I'm not young anymore, and I'm not so young at heart yet. I think as someone who used to be one of the younger guys in the room, it's very admirable to see the energy, the vigor, and the idealism that's burning in our younger cohort. But I just want to remind everybody that as you grow older, it's okay to have your world become smaller. It's okay to, let the business of life happen, to fall in love, to raise a family, to run a business, to be a good boss, to have employees and all that. Why? Because it's inevitable. It's going to happen. And I think being around our younger at heart members is also good because at least we can see and see how they model that you can live a life and still be true to your principles as you get younger at heart. It's also important to remind yourself of that because you don't want to get burnt out. It's a long battle, and maybe if you're not making a big enough dent, you can always pass the baton to the next batch. So yeah, just that. Thank you.
Is that gentleman in front here? Oh yeah.
Okay, so just to sum up with what my friend missed to speak, because this is a script that I wrote for her, but she might miss that. I would like to talk about the inclusiveness of sustainable way of development. Sometimes, we cannot claim that the sustainable way of development is successful just for building or even economics way, but it might be meaningless if we have leaving someone behind when we reach the destination of successful. So, especially the marginalized group who directly impact in whatever direction that authority person had made decisions. So, they cannot even have a chance to make their voice or can even not shout it out loud. So, in my perspective, it's why don't we give a chance for them to let them access the high education level so they can bring that information to teach the local people from peer to peer, and this can be reduce the boundary of the translation linguistic, and it can be encouraged them more because they have mutual belief. And this can be our cooperation for everyone requirements in development, in sustainable way development, in empathy way. So thank you.
Thank
you. Good afternoon. I'm one of the only journalists covering this event. So I just thought I'd give you a few perspectives as a communicator, because the communications word has come up quite frequently in this conference. So I just thought I'd share one or two perspectives. I want to just go back to the very important words mentioned by, Peter, right? Peter, yeah, you. Sorry? Andrew, about imagining the future. A very important question that was asked as part of the research that you've done about what the future would look like, and how to imagine it. My two key words of, I guess, very practical advice. In 2018, one of the world's most riveting stories took place right here in Thailand. It was the rescue of the 13 boys who were trapped in that cave in Thepduangchan. Probably one of the biggest success stories of people who have fought the odds, who came together from different parts of the world, an environmental story par excellence. Boys who were trapped there because, for various reasons, the signage was poor. They ignored the weather forecast of a coming rainstorm. They went there, they got trapped, and the world mounted an operation that caught the world's imagination like nothing else. It was a success story par excellence. Many movies have been made about that effort. People who came together from different nationalities, all castes, colors, and creeds. 13 young, a team of, a football team of 11, and I think it was one of the coach. I would advise you all to watch those movies. If you want to take inspiration, watch, the number of movies have been made about it. Watch those movies and documentaries, because if you're looking for inspiration and motivation on how to beat odds, how to get things done, watch those movies. It was one of the most important stories I covered, even though from a distance, but it is really an act of encouragement and motivation and inspiration that is probably unmatched in the annals of history as we look forward for a new generation. The other part of imagining the future actually is right here. If any of you just go down and stand on that side, you will see right in front of you probably a zero carbon building right here in front of you. Net zero carbon, built more than 100 years ago, and exactly 10 meters behind is this monstrosity, this 50-story monstrosity. Just go there and stand there and take pictures before you go, because you will imagine the future right here, the past, present, and future. And the reason I saw that is because, again, thanks to the Siam Society, you have a prayer room right at the back. And every day in the afternoon, I've been taking advantage of that prayer room to go and complete my prayers. And today, as I was going back, I was quite fascinated by that, because I saw it here. I said, hey, we're all talking about net zero and zero carbon, et cetera, but here, there's a building right here. No fans, no air conditioning, no lighting, no electricity, nothing right here. And right behind it is a monstrosity, going back exactly to what the lady from Georgetown was saying about the differences between developed and developing countries. Right here. So, Andrew, imagining the future, right here on your doorstep, right here in Thailand. See the movie on Thepduangchan and take some photographs of this before you go home, and believe me, the job will be done. Thank you.
Hi again. I think I'm not young and I'm not old either, but I think I fall into young at heart category. So I'd actually like to echo the previous two speakers just now. The first about how, you know, it's a huge challenges, especially for the young generation. And I think being here has really brought to light that anxiety that I would feel if I were in your generation. So that's been really eye-opening to me too. But I think to address that point about burnout, I think actually it's really about sphere of influence. So all of us have a sphere of influence. It can be the sphere of influence in our local community. It could be at our office. It could be at global dialogues. Everybody has one. And I think the work that you don't have to do, which we're very lucky for, is you already understand the nature of these issues and problems. So it really is just merely going back, I think kind of like what the gentleman on the stage said, going back to wherever you came from and just spreading it in your way, in your language, with your talents, with your gifts. So I think that's the way that you avoid that concept of like, oh my God, it's how do we change everything? Use that as a leverage point. And then secondly, what was the other thing I was going to say? Secondly, I think speaking to your point about communication, I think we have amazing young leaders here on stage already. And I think the reason why we're captivated by them is because their ability to tell a story. And it's not just telling a factual story. Real stories convey emotion. And I think the notion of emotion, that rhymes, the notion of emotion is left out of most dialogues. It's left out of the business world for sure. And that's something that I want to try myself, I'm trying to reintroduce. But in important venues like this, we need to tap into emotion, because at the end of the day, we're human. And that's the fundamental part. Business decisions are not made just from facts, they're made from emotion. even in business as well. So I think that how we can help the youth, or how you can also help themselves, is develop those skills to communicate, develop those skills to tell stories that are compelling and inspire action, and maybe are turned into Hollywood movies as well. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the last few days, which has been amazing for me. It's really opened my eyes to so many different things. I come from a science background. This is my first non-science conference, so it was very enlightening for me. And I learned that I could look at one similar thing, but in so many different ways. And I think that is very important when we talk about climate change and also about environmental issues and traditional knowledge and nature. Because all of this, you cannot look at it in one perspective. It will have to be looked at and addressed in so many different perspectives. The more perspectives we look at it, the better, because they don't stand alone. So this conference has been a really good example, and from all your case studies that you've done, those are really good examples of why we need multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary in looking at climate action and the issues of climate change. So that is one very important key takeaway that I take from this conference. And then the other one is, while we, in our haste of diving into climate action and looking at ways of going about tackling different issues, I think let's not forget the fundamentals like character building. Because if you look at all the talks that's been shared, one very, some of the key things that cropped up again and again was on values, on ethics, on being respectful, on greed, all these fundamental values that we need to, I think that very, very important that we need to build in each individual. The cause of climate change in the first place comes from an individual, like what Dr. Pasuk was telling us about all these elites. These are all individuals, and they make all these decisions. So character building in an individual is very, very important. And having a group of youth like you guys in this conference is a good start. And I think very much that you need to propagate all the values that you have learned and acquired from all your experience through this conference and through other programs to other youth. You cannot stop here, definitely. You need to do more work. And for everyone else as well, I think we must not forget about fundamentals, the ethics, because in a lot of these courses and a lot of conversations, we've not touched on fundamentals. We've looked at all these large scale issues, but we haven't looked at like Dr. Sakti was saying about microcosm, our own self, our own heart, So I think that needs to come along with everything else. Let's not forget the fundamentals. Thank you.
Yes, I think that is a very good closing, but there is one more, two more.
Yes, hello. You've triggered my imagination, also the previous speaker over there. And we have talked quite a lot about sufficiency, sustainability. Well, sufficiency, enough. How much is enough? And I find myself asking this increasingly as I've got older. And I'm reminded that when I did my master's degree fieldwork, I lived among the Maasai in Kenya. And the Maasai ladies had 4 outfits only. The oldest outfit they wore every day, looking after the cattle, the goats, whatever, the children. The second oldest outfit, they just went for the market. The second newest outfit they wore for church or whatever, meetings. The newest outfit, every year they made one new outfit, one per year. And then every year the oldest outfit was reduced to rags for some use. So they never had more than 4 outfits, and I'm thinking, my goodness. And I look at my wardrobe and I think, oh my goodness. And I'm thinking, could I live on 4 outfits? I don't think so. Could I live on 1 outfit per day for a week? So just for, I don't think so. I have a huge outfit wardrobe, partly because I never throw anything away. So I still wear clothes that I've worn for 40, 50 years. But it does prompt me always to ask the question, how much is enough? And quite recently, I went somewhere in the UK, so it wasn't hot climate like this, it wasn't dusty and polluted, it was quite a remote part of North Wales, and I forgot my bag. So for 10 days, I had to do some actions, and I had only the clothes that I'm wearing. So for 10 days, I'm wearing the same clothes. My friend told me that I didn't smell at the end of it, it was fine. But anyway, what I discovered is there's a tremendous liberation to wearing only one outfit. Not having to change. I think many of us discovered this during COVID, that you don't have to change, you know, because you're just stuck at home. There is a great liberation to that. But anyway, I come back to the Marseille ladies. How much is enough? Because if we're talking about sufficiency and sustainability, this is a question we always have to ask. How much is enough? Because if you're going to be self-sufficient, you have to have enough. And where is the limit? And it's not always such an easy question to ask. And of course, the fashion industry would be outraged if we all decided to have only 4 outfits and only one new one per year. Then the whole industry would collapse. So maybe that's also not a solution. But it is nevertheless a rather interesting and rather important question. How much is enough?
Have you ever tried to go to a website and they ask you if you're a robot, right? So the human being has to tell the robot that, no, I'm not a robot, right? Okay, so I'm just reminded of this Dr. Ajahn Chaiwat's analogy of the wounded warrior who tried to fight the floating lotus, right? And he found that he could not stab the lotus. And when you try to stab at this climate question, it's just like that. It goes from here to, it's just floating all over the place. It's a very, what do you call it? Agile question. And this climate issue can be manipulated for with all sorts of justification. To say that, oh, there are too many people, there are too many people burning firewood, there are too many poor people, they are the problem. And just remember that people are never the problem, they are the problem and the solution. Technology is a means to the solution, but technology is also something that can also be used in the other way, It can be used to be the solution instead of the people or in place of the people. So the climate warrior has to really understand where are the people and where is technology and what role each one has to play. Because as this gentleman said, and I think it's often repeated, we have all the science, we have all the technology, and yet the problem is growing bigger and bigger because science is not the solution. The people of scientists, engineers, they don't know how to solve the climate problem. You know how to solve? Okay, so so the climate warrior is, you have to play Tai Chi or Silat or something, to think not in a very dialectic way, not in a false dialectic way, but in a way that, plays out in the long run, where it is, in the end, it's the people. You save not just the planet, but you have to save the people as well.
Hi, I'm Nina. So I would just like to share my impression and reflection of this conference and workshop. I think the greatest merit that I have observed and felt here is actually about the democratic environment and also the empowerment. Because we're talking about, climate action and stuff like that. And we've heard throughout 3 days that one of the main problems is about this power dynamics, right? Like the power distance and gaps between the policymakers, between the capitalists, between people who want to, make, exploit the natural resources and people. And even within ASEAN countries ourselves, many of our cultures have this big power gap between seniors and youth. But this conference, what I'm seeing is that it's really empowering in the sense that it encouraged youth to say whatever they want to from whichever discipline or background that they have, in whichever format or in whichever way that they want to. Some would like to say that my strength is in science and evidence-based kind of like presentation, so I would use statistics. The other would be, my approach is visiting the communities and talking, qualitative and stories and to come out. So this is really empowering, and I think this is a big achievement of this conference. And why is it successful? Because when youth are going to really, work on activism, but when they're being active, it means that they rise above the average or the norm of the population to say something, and usually is something that might not usually provoke people who don't like it, right? It takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable and to be brave and to fear for your safety, for your criticism, and also the data, whether it's accurate or not. And this is the platform where youth get to practice that in front of seniors, and seniors as in senior academics, people who have paved the way. And what is really touching is that they also get to see and hear from people who have paved the way before them from various fields. And like from Dr. Pasuk, she demonstrated as well that difficult questions and difficult answers, inconvenient ones, can be answered and can be asked. So because I've been working with the youth, and they often came to me like, I'm scared, can I say this? Can I be critical? Can I criticize? Can I talk about politics? Or should I avoid it? But in the end, when they worked, it all came to the bottleneck, which is about politics and power dynamics, this imbalance between the more influential one. And I said, who are we? What can we do? So I said, this is a platform where it's safe. And this is something that maybe I believe that you will receive this feeling of more confidence to continue working on this. And we have to thank to all the other panelists and presenters who have shared their long years of work and also the discussion. And another important thing is that this conference is so democratic in the way that it encouraged youth to even ask questions to the panelists, right? Like, what do you think? Oh, I disagree with this. What do you think like that? But in a very respectful way that will be constructive and lead to further discussion and collaboration. So I think this is what we need. We need confidence and positivity to, walk on this long path. And also advises on you probably get burnt out from time to time, but as long as you know that there are people like that, and then it worked, and then we all hear success stories, and we see, and I think another important part is that we have to be careful of separation from unconscious bias or prejudice, in the sense that Western science is evil or arrogant. All politicians are evil. All the community members, they're less educated or they're very aggressive. So all of this unconscious bias, or youth, probably we have to use toned down language because they don't understand. When in fact we have heard that they are teaching me a lot of words too. Or to say that seniors, they already don't understand the younger generation, right? A lot of unconscious bias that is separating us. I think we need to be mindful of this because it will only create quiet resent or a sense of like, I don't probably belong here then because what, you know? So, so this conference is very commendable in the sense that I think have achieved a very democratic environment, a good practice, and also a ground and platform for all of us to continue in whichever field and method that you want to, with the support of the people that, all of you that have come before. So thank you so much to SEACHA.
Thank you for the very good conclusions. So I think by that, let's work together. This is not a closing. This is a beginning. And it's a commencement of something else. So let's thank ourselves, thanks the youth, all the facilitators, and Siam Society, all the sponsors, and all of you to be here to work together towards a better future. So now I think time for beer? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Widodo. Thank you all the youth participants. And all your wonderful comment is very exhilarating just by listening to all the comments here. Just the final bits here has arrived to mark the completion and the closing of the conference that we have. May I please invite Mrs. Pillai Pansombatsiri, the president of the Siam Society, up here for the closing remarks. Yes.
I'm sure you haven't realized my real name because you all call me Kun Pek, which I appreciate very much. And I have to tell you, what a wonderful 3 days. I really enjoy myself very, very much. It's really very enlightening. And I have to confess, when I'm as young as the young speakers, I'm still running around doing nothing at all. Not as useful as they are today. Well, officially, good afternoon, our esteemed guests, our friends, ladies and gentlemen. I think that I speak for all of us today that I really express my excitement and appreciation for the ideas shared here over the last 3 days. The Siam Society and SEACHA convened this conference with the goal of aiding the region in fight against climate change, using our local wisdom and traditional practices across disciplines and generations. By these measures, I'm delighted to conclude this program as a great success. On behalf of the Siam Society and SEACHA, I would like to express special thanks to a few individuals for their work in bringing this event together. Firstly, our sincere thanks to B.Grimm for their compassionate support of the conference and for their work implementing sustainable energy sources for a greener planet. Many thanks as well to our other sponsors, the Ministry of Culture, the Ministry of Digital Economy and Society, the Government Lottery Office, the Embassy of the Republic of Indonesia in Bangkok, PTT, PTTGC, the International National Trust Organization, Nalert Park Heritage Home, Thai Beverage, SEACHA, and the individual supporters of SEACHA and the Siam Society. I would also like to thank the founding members of SEACHA, whose work made this conference possible. Much gratitude goes to the Center for Research and Promotion of Cultural Heritage, the Singapore Heritage Society, the Siam Society, the Heritage Conservation Society, Lao Handicrafts Association, Yangon Heritage Trust, Penang Heritage Trust, the Indonesian Heritage Trust, and Mulberries. Next, our sincere gratitude goes to Grace Yong Sungwon Chai and Amy Permpoon Viwat, the two youth committee members of SEACHA. Their perspectives and passion were instrumental and instigating the youth's leading role in this program from its inception. Our two facilitators, Kun Ninina Putitan and Kun Nopajak Attanan, were instrumental in mentoring our youth leaders and sharpening their presentations. They have our very sincere thanks. Additional appreciation is due to the board of SEACHA, volunteer committees members, and staff of the Siam Society, my very good staff, whose work has made this program possible. Special thanks to Dr. Katrini Pratihari Kubontubu for her leadership and chairperson of SEACHA's board of directors. Finally, I would like to thank again all of our speakers who contributed to the conference proceedings, and especially the youth whose work over the last few months allowed them to articulate their vision and passion for our planet's future, buoyed by the richness of its past. As Dr. Pasuk raised this morning, Southeast Asian voices on environmental issues have been at the margins of international policy for too long. We hope that the foundations established at this conference will help steer international policy. I'm pleased that with SEACHA and the Siam Society's involvement in COP28, we will begin the work of elevating Southeast Asian cultural perspectives on the global stage. Thank you. The calls to action outlined today serve as a beacon for all of us in how to build a cleaner, safer world that will pass down through generations, just as the cultural wisdom of Southeast Asia has. On that note, once again, thank you, our friends, our esteemed guests, for joining us for this special conference. And I wish you all a very good evening and a safer journey home. Thank you.